Well, here are some ways that it presents itself in modern society, and one of the things that I've advocated for over the past couple of years is what we call race data. It is highly manipulative and highly inefficient way of tracking outcomes.
I say the
And
same
I've
thing.
advocated for, and that's one of the things that I started the pull movement principle movement on eliminating race data because it makes people believe, well, one, that they understand how to deeply analyze complex data sets. And most people, as someone who's spent 20 years doing that, just don't know how to do that. And so when you break down a mean average and say this is the average XYZ, most people take that number and believe it is gospel and have no idea how these figures were derived, have no idea how the data was compiled, whether it was survey data or from any other analytical sets. And often it is used in a nefarious way. And in doing so, what this does is it promotes and perpetuates the idea that those who identify or are classified as Black in America are continuously at the bottom of that totem pole, at the bottom of that hierarchy. And this is shown in so many different ways. And a lot of times, if you go, depending on the communities in which you travel, you may see something that's different than what you saw in those proposed data sets. You may see something that is similar to what you saw in those proposed data sets. It just depends. And so, but what happens is that we take these figures and these numbers and we extrapolate that across an entire population of people. And it's just not accurate. And so those who say they want to remove this hierarchy, they're upholding it with the concept of race itself.
I understood you until your conclusion there.
I got to work on my conclusions.
Well, well, it's just like, how are they upholding the idea of race? You're saying because they're using false data?
Well, so I hold a philosophy that you cannot compile race data if race doesn't exist. So any data using a concept that doesn't have parameters is faulty data.
All right. So, you're just saying we shouldn't study it?
Well, we can study it, but anytime you have a data set that includes faulty data, you have a broken set of data. And so if you analyze groups of people using a parameterless data set, your data is erroneous from the start. And so if you say how many people who are classified as Black have own homes in America, well, this is an identity metric. This is no different than saying how many people who think that they're tall or how many people who think that they're fat or how many people think
it's definitely
that
different
they're fast
than that.
or slow.
Let's be realistic, Adrian. It's definitely different than that. Come on.
Only because people believe that it is.
No. Listen, I understand the distinction you're trying to make, but I feel like you're going to confuse people if you get down this road. So we got to take it step by step here. Okay. All right. So I understand what you're doing, but I don't know if other people watching will understand. So I get that what you're saying is that race is an imaginary concept, and therefore we cannot actually study something that is imaginary, right?
Well, I think we can study it.
We cannot collect data. We cannot collect data on it.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Right. I get it. I get that part. However, I think it's becoming increasingly more difficult to do that as well. But there was a time where it was a little bit easier to do so, I feel like.
It was.
Yeah, and so I feel like that time is passing us by, just like other times are passing us by, right? It's becoming more and more difficult to maintain the illusion of race. And
this is true.
So I agree with you that I think that the inspiration to collect all of this racial data, there were two inspirations. I think one main inspiration was so that people could prove that systemic racism is still an issue. Okay, so the consequence of the racial categories are still active. I think that is one. The other one, I think, is to disproved that. So there's this endless back and forth about a question that really is self-evident, I think. So I really like that you've chosen not to get into that fray and that you've actually chosen to attack the root of the problem, because as a math teacher myself, that is what I teach my students to do as well. So yeah, kudos to you, brother.
Well, I appreciate that. No, so those are what you commonly see, how these data expressions reveal themselves in one of those two ways. Whether there's a cohort of people to confirm and validate that yes, you see that systemic racism is indeed an element of American society, and it's something that cannot be avoided, cannot be denied. And then there are others who use the same data sets to say, see, this same data can be used to show that systemic racism doesn't exist.
Thanks for watching. For access to the full-length conversation and all of the 2-hour-long unedited conversations that I've had on race, click the support link in the description below. Thanks for your support, and see you next time.